One of the criminals who were hanged there kept deriding him and saying, "Are you not the Messiah? Save yourself and us." But the other rebuked him, saying, "Do you not fear God, since you are under the same sentence of condemnation? And we are indeed being condemned justly, for we are getting what we deserve for our deeds. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus replied, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." These words, "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom," are where I find my focus drawn as we enter into Lent. This request is an audacious one. It comes from the mouth of a man who has been sentenced to death for crimes he freely admits he's guilty of. He does not question his punishment, nor does he mistake who he joins as he hangs from the cross. And it is precisely this man's bold request that catches Jesus' attention. So I wonder, how might we be so bold? How might we be so honest about where we are and how we got there? How might we recognize, even in the divulgence of that honest confession, that Jesus is right there with us? And I think of the meal that Jesus shares with over 5,000 people. In the breaking of bread, there is a communion, a connection, a body breaking, crumbling, torn, and shared. When the bread breaks, it does not break evenly. There are flakes and crumbs, bits that fall and permeate the table and the earth, rather than leave them disparate and unconnected. It is Jesus' instruction to his disciples to gather the crumbs. Even after the feast, there is abundance. Even after the meal is finished, there is much to be cared for. There is a feast within the fragments. The man hanging on the cross speaks to Jesus in his most vulnerable moment. There's no pageantry to his dress. He's most likely naked. There are no hidden details concerning his burdens or what type of cross he bears as he hangs from it. It is a moment where he is bloody and tired, caked in sweat and mud, where the last breaths from his body begin to be painfully drawn forth as his own weight is brought to bear against his lungs. It is in this moment, this most vulnerable moment, that he asks to be remembered. It is in this moment, the least graceful of his life, that he asks to be remembered. And Jesus responds, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." How might we be so bold? I believe that we do this by living as if each moment we find ourselves at the cross with one last desperate request: remember me. And how do we wish to be remembered? When the last days for our church come to pass, when the time comes to close the doors, to shift our focus elsewhere, what will we be remembered for? Or when generations come to pass and some future church is looking back on what was done in this time and place, what will this congregation be remembered for? I pray it is for the ways in which we have dug our hands into the earth, for the blood, sweat, and tears that we have given over to the work of God, for the crumbs we collect, for the ways in which we surrendered our comfort and dignity for the sake of the gospel. This Lent, the challenge for us is that our faith would be so scandalous that people would talk about our work like the other criminal next to Jesus. That our generosity, gracefulness, and love would be so mocked. Let us be remembered not for all the ways in which we appear clean, neat, and righteous to the world, but for all the ways in which we appear dirty, foolish, and extravagantly idealistic. Join me this Lent in this constant prayer: Jesus, remember me.